The studio lights blazed down on the set of The View, where the co-hosts sat in their signature semicircle, ready for another day of heated discussions and celebrity guests. Tulsi Gabbard, the former congresswoman and outspoken political figure, strode onto the stage with a confident smile, her military background evident in her poised demeanor. Joy Behar, the veteran comedian and liberal commentator, eyed her guest with a mix of curiosity and skepticism, her sharp wit already sharpening for the exchange ahead. As Whoopi Goldberg introduced Gabbard, the audience erupted in applause, a mix of cheers and murmurs filling the air. Gabbard took her seat, dressed in a sleek pantsuit, her hair neatly tied back, exuding an aura of calm authority. The conversation started innocently enough, with questions about her shift from Democrat to Independent and her views on foreign policy, but tension simmered beneath the surface, as Behar leaned forward, her New York accent cutting through the pleasantries. "Tulsi, you've been critical of the Democratic Party lately. What's that all about? Are you just trying to stir the pot?" Behar quipped, eliciting laughs from the crowd. Gabbard didn't flinch. Instead, she met Behar's gaze steadily. "Joy, it's not about stirring the pot. It's about speaking truth to power. The party has lost its way on issues like endless wars and corporate influence." The back and forth began to escalate, with Behar pressing on Gabbard's past endorsements and her appearances on conservative media. "You've been cozying up to Fox News. Isn't that a bit hypocritical for someone who claims to be anti-establishment?" Behar challenged, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Gabbard countered smoothly, "Hypocritical, Joy? I've been consistent in my opposition to regime change wars, whether under Bush, Obama, or Biden. It's the mainstream media like this show that picks and chooses narratives to fit their agenda." The audience gasped as the exchange heated up, with co-hosts Sunny Hostin and Sarhanes trying to interject, but the spotlight remained on Gabbard and Behar. Gabbard delved into specifics, citing examples of media bias and how shows like The View often echo establishment talking points without questioning them. Behar fired back, defending her show's integrity and accusing Gabbard of pandering to right-wing audiences. "You're just another politician flipping sides for relevance," Behar exclaimed, her face flushing. Gabbard remained unflappable, responding with facts about her voting record and her service in Iraq, which silenced the room momentarily. The showdown intensified as they tackled hot-button issues like censorship on social media and the role of big tech in politics. Gabbard argued passionately for free speech, drawing parallels to historical suppressions, while Behar dismissed it as conspiracy theory fodder. The energy in the studio was electric, with audience members whispering and cameras zooming in on the verbal sparring. As the segment progressed, Gabbard's eloquence began to shine, dismantling Behar's points one by one with logical precision. Behar, known for her quick retorts, found herself stumbling slightly, resorting to humor to deflect. "Well, if you're so anti-war, why not join the Peace Corps instead of Congress?" she joked, but Gabbard turned it around. "Joy, I've served in war zones. Have you?" It's easy to talk from a studio. The crowd's reaction was mixed, some cheering Gabbard's boldness, others loyal to Behar's feisty style. The explosive nature of the debate peaked when they discussed the 2024 election, with Gabbard criticizing the media's role in dividing the nation. Behar interrupted, "You're the one dividing by switching parties." But Gabbard delivered a mic drop moment. "Switching parties? No, Joy. The party switched on the American people." The applause thundered, and even the co-hosts looked stunned. As the commercial break approached, the tension lingered, setting the stage for more fireworks in the next segment. Resuming after the break, the atmosphere on The View was palpably charged, with Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar locked in a battle of ideologies that captivated the live audience and viewers at home. Gabbard, drawing from her experience as a combat veteran, elaborated on the human cost of foreign interventions, painting vivid pictures of soldiers' sacrifices that Behar attempted to counter with arguments about national security. "We can't just pull out and let chaos reign," Behar asserted, her hands gesturing emphatically. Gabbard responded with a detailed breakdown of past policy failures, from Iraq to Afghanistan, citing declassified documents and expert analyses to bolster her case. The discussion veered into domestic politics, where Behar questioned Gabbard's stance on social issues like abortion and LGBTQ rights. As a woman, how can you align with conservatives who want to roll back rights? Behar probed, her voice rising. Gabbard clarified her positions, emphasizing individual freedoms and criticizing both parties for using wedge issues to distract from economic woes. The exchange grew more personal as Behar referenced Gabbard's Hindu faith and its influence on her views, suggesting it might cloud her judgment on secular matters. Gabbard, unfazed, explained how her spirituality fueled her commitment to peace and justice, turning the critique into a teaching moment about tolerance. The co-hosts jumped in, with Ana Navarro adding her conservative-leaning perspective, but the core conflict remained between Gabbard and Behar. As they debated climate change policies, Gabbard advocated for practical solutions over alarmist rhetoric, accusing mainstream media of fear-mongering. Behar retorted sharply, "Fear-mongering? The planet is burning, Tulsi." Gabbard calmly presented data on renewable energy transitions and the need for bipartisan cooperation, which seemed to frustrate Behar further. The audience's engagement was evident, with claps and boos intermingling, reflecting the polarized views. Gabbard then shifted to economic inequality, lambasting corporate bailouts and the influence of lobbyists in Washington. Behar defended progressive taxes but accused Gabbard of being out of touch with working-class struggles. "I've fought for veterans' benefits and affordable health care," Gabbard shot back, listing her legislative achievements. The verbal jousting reached a crescendo when they touched on media accountability, with Gabbard calling out The View for selective outrage. "You amplify certain voices while silencing others," she said pointedly. Behar, defensive, listed the show's diverse guests, but Gabbard pressed on, mentioning suppressed stories about government overreach during the pandemic. The intensity built as co-hosts tried to mediate, but the two women were in full debate mode. Gabbard's composure contrasted with Behar's animated expressions, making for compelling television. Towards the end of this segment, Gabbard delivered another powerful line, "Joy, disagreement isn't destruction, it's democracy." The statement hung in the air, prompting thoughtful nods from some in the audience. As the show moved to another break, whispers of "she's destroying her" circulated among viewers online, turning the episode into a viral sensation. Back from commercial, the explosive showdown on The View continued with Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar delving deeper into contentious topics, their verbal sparring drawing record viewership. Gabbard opened by addressing immigration reform, advocating for secure borders coupled with humane policies, which Behar labeled as Trumpian rhetoric. "Secure borders aren't racist, they're responsible," Gabbard replied, citing statistics on trafficking and the need for comprehensive legislation. Behar pushed back, emphasizing compassion for asylum seekers and accusing Gabbard of fear tactics. The debate intensified as they discussed gun control, with Gabbard supporting Second Amendment rights while endorsing background checks, a nuance Behar dismissed as fence-sitting. "Pick a side, Tulsi," Behar exclaimed. Gabbard retorted with examples from her military service, explaining the importance of responsible ownership. The co-hosts interjected with their views, but the focus stayed on the duo's clash. Moving to education, Gabbard criticized the influence of teachers' unions and called for school choice, which Behar vehemently opposed, defending public education funding. "You're undermining teachers," Behar argued. Gabbard countered with data on failing schools in urban areas, proposing innovative reforms. The personal jabs increased, with Behar questioning Gabbard's presidential run and its low polling. "You didn't even make a dent," Behar said mockingly. Gabbard smiled and responded, "Joy, impact isn't measured by polls but by ideas that endure." The audience appreciated the comeback, applauding loudly. As they tackled healthcare, Gabbard promoted a single-payer system with private options, critiquing Obamacare's shortcomings. Behar praised the ACA and accused Gabbard of wanting to dismantle it. The exchange was rapid-fire, with facts and anecdotes flying. Gabbard then addressed cancel culture, sharing stories of silenced voices, including her own experiences with party backlash. Behar rolled her eyes, calling it victim playing. "It's real, Joy, and it stifles debate," Gabbard insisted. The studio buzzed with energy, cameras capturing every expression. Towards the segment's close, Gabbard turned the tables, asking Behar about her own biases as a longtime media figure. Behar laughed it off but seemed momentarily off guard. The discussion on foreign aid saw Gabbard arguing against unchecked spending, while Behar supported alliances. Isolationism is dangerous, Behar stated. Gabbard clarified, it's not isolationism, it's non-interventionism. The nuanced points showcased Gabbard's depth, gradually wearing down Behar's aggressive style. As the break neared, social media exploded with clips, dubbing it the destruction of Behar by Gabbard's intellect. The fourth segment of The View's explosive episode featuring Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar ramped up the intensity, with the two women clashing over identity politics and its role in modern discourse. Gabbard argued that focusing on race and gender divides rather than unites, proposing class-based solutions instead. Behar countered fiercely, identity matters because systemic oppression exists. The debate was passionate, with Gabbard drawing from her diverse heritage as Samoan and Hindu to emphasize unity. Behar questioned her authenticity, suggesting political expediency. You've changed tunes, Behar accused. Gabbard refuted with consistent voting records on civil rights. The conversation shifted to Big Pharma's influence, where Gabbard exposed lobbying scandals, and Behar defended regulations while admitting flaws. Co-hosts added layers, but the core rivalry persisted. On criminal justice reform, Gabbard pushed for ending mandatory minimums, citing her work on bills, while Behar highlighted racial disparities. We agree on ends but differ on means, Gabbard noted, attempting common ground, but Behar pressed on differences. The audience was riveted, with live tweets praising Gabbard's poise. Discussing tech censorship, Gabbard cited Section 230 reforms, accusing platforms of bias. Behar dismissed it as right-wing talking points. Evidence shows suppression of conservative views, Gabbard insisted, listing cases. The back and forth was relentless, with Behar's humor clashing against Gabbard's facts. As they covered voting rights, Gabbard supported ID laws with accessibility, while Behar called it suppression. The debate highlighted philosophical divides. Gabbard then addressed media's role in elections, criticizing biased coverage. Shows like yours shape narratives unfairly, she said. Behar defended journalistic integrity, but Gabbard pointed to examples of omitted stories. The tension peaked with personal anecdotes. Gabbard shared deployment stories, humanizing her stance, while Behar recounted activist days. The segment ended on a high note of respect, but the destruction narrative online grew. Entering the penultimate segment, Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar's Showdown on The View explored economic policies, with Gabbard advocating for anti-monopoly measures against big tech and finance. Behar agreed on some points but accused her of populist pandering. You're sounding like Bernie now, Behar quipped. Gabbard laughed. If it means fighting for workers, guilty as charged. The discussion on trade deals saw Gabbard criticizing NAFTA's impacts, proposing fair trade. Behar supported globalism for jobs. Co-hosts mediated, but sparks flew. On women's issues, Gabbard championed equal pay and maternity leave, drawing from her experiences. Behar probed her anti-war stance's effect on women abroad. Wars disproportionately harm women and children, Gabbard emphasized. The exchange was insightful, revealing overlaps amid differences. Addressing climate action, Gabbard called for nuclear energy inclusion, which Behar opposed due to risks. Renewables alone won't suffice, Gabbard argued with data. The audience engaged actively. On Social Security, Gabbard proposed reforms to sustain it, while Behar demanded expansions. The debate underscored generational views. Gabbard then tackled misinformation, urging critical thinking over censorship. Behar favored fact-checking. The verbal battle was exhausting yet exhilarating. As it wrapped, Gabbard's command of topics shone, solidifying her destruction of Behar's arguments in public perception. In the final segment of The View's memorable episode, Tulsi Gabbard and Joy Behar wrapped up their explosive showdown with reflections on bipartisanship and the future of American politics. Gabbard stressed the need for dialogue across aisles, citing her cross-party friendships. Behar, while skeptical, acknowledged the polarization. We need more like you, but on our side, Behar joked, lightening the mood. Gabbard responded graciously, sides are the problem, issues unite us. The co-hosts shared closing thoughts, Praising the robust discussion on veterans' affairs, Gabbard passionately advocated for better VA services, sharing poignant stories. Behar expressed support, finding common ground. The audience applauded the civility amid intensity. Discussing youth engagement, Gabbard encouraged civic education, while Behar emphasized activism. The exchange ended positively, with hugs and promises of future debates. As the credits rolled, the studio buzzed with afterglow, and online, the title "Tulsi Gabbard Destroys Joy Behar" trended, capturing the dramatic, idea-driven clash that left viewers thinking deeply about politics, media, and discourse in a divided nation.